Hello again, Radials. It's me, Amanda, with more from Anne and Karen messages, messages of the soul friend. Um, and straight off the bat, I'm going to admit I've been procrastinating on this message. It's been trying to come for a while. And interesting enough, the synchronicity, the topic today is fear. And the fear I've been feeling all morning, the prospect of doing this video has really been very evident, and I'm having to do a lot of clearing and moving of that energy. But I also understand the importance of this matter being discussed, and awareness being brought to this. And it's also something that's been trying to come through me for years. I just didn't realize, the significance in that quite so much. Um, So, there's an awful lot of talk about a new earth, and there's a lot of people talking as if there's going to be a light switch flicked and just magically we wake up in the morning to this wonderful new heaven on earth, a paradise world. And it's like, let's get real. The new world begins with you and with me, with every single one of us. It's not a destination. It's not something. It's not somewhere we're going to. It's something that's coming through us. We are bringing the new earth. We are creating heaven on earth. It is up to us, and it's time to start taking accountability and responsibility. Hi, Patrick. Welcome in. Now, I'm not here to judge or condemn or criticize in any way, shape, or form. I'm literally just the messenger. And I'm aware this may trigger some people. And again, that is frightening me. I'm not going to lie. So again, it's trying to, and again, I even have a rattle out today, just to clear that energy. Because, fear is a very strong vibration. And it's also one that we become so accustomed to that we don't even recognize when it's in our orbit unless it's of a particularly strong, sharp, and focused manifestation. But it comes in many manifested forms. And that's what I'm being guided to bring our awareness to today. Because we're living in a world where, in order to function, most of us have developed a survival mechanism of avoiding how we feel, pushing it down. It's also part of the systemic programming. Big girls don't cry, big boys don't cry, don't acknowledge your feelings, toughen up, soldier on, block it out, push it down, carry on. And so it becomes that kind of sensation after, days, weeks, months, years, decades. And realistically, we are talking centuries here. That energy is becoming more and more accepted as a normal kind of baseline energy and what we feel is normal. So when things are worse, when things get into the really heavy, sharp, and you're having really hard, frightening experiences, we recognize those because, it's a little bit more than we're used to. But it's getting to a point where even our children are becoming so desensitized at their tender years. Look at Halloween. Look at some of the costumes. Like last Halloween, I was sent a photo of an 8-year-old, like a Walking Dead zombie type thing. I mean, the image when I opened the image, I actually recoiled. It actually frightened me, and I remember just thinking, "Wow, isn't it incredible? What children are capable of these days and how strong they are." But you see, the big question is, should they be able to take all of this in their stride? And once upon a time, I had numbed all of this out. I didn't allow myself to feel. It's true getting to know me. It's true doing a lot of mirror work, having conversations with myself and the inner child, the wounded versions of me, that I've come familiar with. Fear is all I've ever really known. And I think I've spoken before, a sense of safety, that's something that is just so new to me. I never knew what it was until recently. And it's such a wonderful, uplifting vibration. It feels fantastic. It feels so good to feel safe. But most of my life, I thought feeling relieved was feeling safe. But it's not. There's a big, big difference. Hi, Bernie. Welcome in. Good to see you too. Now, this subject is really challenging me because, again, how can I break it down and how can I explain what's coming through? And all I can really say is, if you can, I know life is busy, if you can, pause this, make yourself a cup of tea, and try and be present in the moment for this message, because it really is so important, and it's so important that we grasp this concept of what the world has become, what has happened. Because I'm hearing so many parents talking about, oh, little Jimmy, 3 and 4 years old, and he loves the dinosaurs, and oh no, not the cartoon ones, he loves Jurassic Park. And it's like this is something to be really proud of. And it is great that kids can handle that, but are they really handling it? Is it a case of, oh, they're well able, or is it just a case of, like all children coming into the world, we're looking at all those around us, sometimes we brothers, sisters, or other people that we admire, we hero worship, we aspire to, and if we hear mommy and daddy having a conversation how Mrs. Doyle's son down the road, little Jimmy, and you know he loves the dinosaurs. My God, he's only 4, but like he watches the Jurassic Park stuff. Isn't he amazing? Isn't he great? We're almost promoting that children being able to just and take on this energy of fear and horror. We're praising that ability. And look, I know for many of us, when we survive traumas, we do need that ability. But there's kids watching this stuff that are actually living in nice environments. They don't need to be exposed to these kind of energies. And like if you take a breath and you really sit with this and you think back, because again, we tend to look at things through our adult lens of perception and not through the lens of perception of when we were a little boy and girl. And I don't know about you, but even Scooby Doo, when I was a kid, there were certain moments. Scooby Doo was scary, really scary. And that's kind of enough of a level of fear for children, as they grow and as they prosper. Because remember, we spoke in other videos, I've spoken before about we have like an internal sat nav system, an internal compass, or as Corey put it in one of his videos, an internal alarm. There is a particular sensation that hits when something is not right, and we feel it. And often that little alarm goes off when we come into the vibration, when we encounter a frequency of fear. And remember that, frequencies, again, everything is energy. And again, for me, energy is color. The divine white light, it's all the colors of the rainbow. It's the entire spectrum, much more than what we can actually see with our naked eyes. And, there's so many ranges of colors within, say, reds. Do you know how many shades of red are there? Do you know the numbers are unlimitless, because that's a huge range of energetic scope within the vibration of the color red. And the same applies with the vibration, the frequency of fear. There are different shades of it. So you have the Scooby-Doo fear aspect, and then you have the full on, exorcist, horror aspect. It's all fear. It's all the frequency of fear. It's different shades. And we've become so accustomed to dismissing it and, laughing it off. And again, laughter is a great way to free yourself from it. But again, healthy laughter, not mocking laughter that then makes people feel invalidated for feeling fear, feeling ashamed that they're feeling the fear, because what we feel is very, very valid. And, I wasn't too comfortable about even focusing and talking so much about the fear, because I'm aware the more time and energy we spend, talking about things, the more we're paying attention to it, which is why I think I was guided to pick up the little rattle today, and I have my little singing bowl. So I will be intermittently striking that or shaking this, because as I'm speaking of it, I can actually feel my own solar plexus starting to constrict. It's not a vibration I choose to spend much time in these days, even though it is permeating the airs around the planet at the moment. But instead of giving it too much time and attention, because again, I don't want to pay for that experience. I don't want to invite more experiences in that range of frequency. I've had enough of that in my life. I choose now to look for things to appreciate. But it's really important that I bring this subject up today for the sake of awareness. And, it's really struck me, especially in the last couple of decades, the massive difference in what we find acceptable to expose children to when it comes to that vibration of fear. And again, it's when we're talking about fear, please bring yourself back to your childhood, to the child. How did you feel for certain cartoons and certain movies? And one that really, really was coming strongly to me is the original Jumanji, the Robin Williams one. Now, I had that video, the old VHS tape, and it was a 15 certification. Now it's a great movie. I love Jumanji, but my God, that was a scary movie. And I think that came out in the 80s. Was it mid to late 80s? Did I even write that down somewhere? So I know it was relevant. I did. So Jumanji, the video, was released on the 14th of May, 1996. So I think I was around, 22 or that at the time. Now, I remember seeing that movie. And yes, it was great. And it's a wonderful adventure and it's exhilarating and, a nice roller coaster. And again, that's what movies are about, to give us that experience. But there was a lot of fear and tension and in that. And what happened then was, a few years later, Jumanji got released on DVD. And we also had that in our household, because I was a bit of a hoarder at the time. So, I still had the original video when the DVD came out. And on the DVD, the certification was for 12 years of age. Now, nowadays, I think a lot of people just see Jumanji as a kids' film, maybe a PG rating, and it's like, just throw it on. And there's no awareness around the energy within it. And again, we live very distracted lives. We're very fragmented. We're trying to run households while, doing full-time jobs, trying to raise families, or, other commitments. And we all have busy lives nowadays. And add to that, we also have devices almost always glued to our hands, which are constantly pinging and, looking for attention. So our energy is very, very scattered in today's world, because parts of us are in so many different places that we are not actually fully present in the moment. So we're not truly aware, even when we sit down and watch a movie with our kids, we're not always present. Yes, physically, we're there with them and, movie night, this is great, but our minds are not fully here. Sometimes we're like, oh God, I still have the dishes to do, or I still have to tidy up, or, what did so mean when they said that to me earlier on today? Or you might be texting, or there's messages coming through. You might have the tones turned off so as not to disturb the movie, but, look, it's a kids' movie. I've seen it before. I don't need to give it my full attention. So we're having other interactions. And I'm not saying everyone, but, in general, and speaking generally, a lot of people do this. And, and when we're doing this, that means we are not there in the moment. We are not feeling the full effects of the adventure that's unfolding and the energy within it. And music is so powerful. You don't even need images. Like, sometimes if you hear like heavy do 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 kind of music, there is that kind of constrictive sense. There is that heavier sensation we all feel when we hear music like that, as opposed to something more uplifting, like la la la. And frequency, vibration, sound, music, it plays a huge, huge part. So if you're fragmented and distracted and not sitting beside, or in the room with your child, fully present in the moment, you're not really realizing the impact that it's having on them. And again, when they do get frightened, what are we doing now? It's like, you're all right, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's only TV, it's only pretend. And instead, what we're doing, we think we're giving them comfort, we think that we're reassuring them. But when we do that, we're actually invalidating what they are feeling in the moment. They are experiencing genuine fear. And as a little child, as a young soul coming in, they're really frightened and terrified. And what they need is somebody to go, okay, you're not feeling too good, are you? And we can pause the movie and we can actually have a chat. What are you feeling? How does that feel? And okay, it's okay. I can understand why you would feel like that. That's a very scary situation happening there on the telly, but it is just a story. So, we can reassure them then. But it's really important to acknowledge that the fear they were feeling because of what they were witnessing. Because for children, they don't have that fragmented mindset that we do with so many other things that we should be doing and who said what. Kids are kind of present in the moment all of the time. So they're really engrossed in that energy and they're having a really true, full on, full body experience of those vibrations when we're only experiencing a fraction of it because we're scattered in the other directions. So you follow me? So again, I'm not here to judge or criticize. I'm just here to bring awareness to the behaviors that a lot of us have that we don't even realize we're doing it. And this isn't to make you feel shame or guilt or blame or anything like that. It's just purely, we didn't know, we didn't realize, we've been so distracted, we've been so caught up with all the other stuff that, sometimes we forget how important it is to get present and find that baseline. And I've only just discovered, what love feels like, what safe feels like. So I now have a lovely baseline to reach for. And I've gotten comfortable with myself that, I'm intimately aware when anything else is in my orbit and my energy. Um, so, and I spend a lot of time fully present. I don't have other people living here. So it's much easier for me to do this, which is why probably I'm getting the message to bring across, because I have the time to spend looking within, opening up, asking questions, receiving answers. And now I'm here to share what I've been learning and what's been coming through with you. And again, it's just to not to be going, oh God, what have I done? I've been doing that. If this is resonating with you, just see this as, a lesson in motion. This is a learning moment. You're learning something. You're recognizing something. And once it comes into your awareness, you've already done the best you know how up until now. But now you know something on a deeper level. You have a little bit more awareness. So now you can make choices based on the awareness you have now. And, that's why it's really important. Don't start bringing any guilt or shame or what have I done energy into this. Just recognize it and be mindful of it. So in future, when, kids are watching something and they have a reaction, don't dismiss their feelings by going, don't worry, look, that's not real. It's all right. Go on. It's only pretend. Don't let it get to you. Because it's already got to them. And when we do that, it totally invalidates them. And then you're kind of left feeling, and again, I've experienced this as a child myself, and you're kind of going, okay, so what I feel doesn't matter. And I'm doing something wrong by feeling that because they're telling me I shouldn't be feeling what I'm feeling. And that gets so confusing and you're kind of grown up in that. And when you look at the change in just the last couple of decades, so what was that, 1996? So, 2016, in less than 20 years, the level of what our children are exposed to and what's considered acceptable and okay for them to, the energy for them to sit in, has been lowered dramatically. And, I'm not okay with that. That feels so off to me. And I think it's something we're not really aware of. And there's also a lot of games and cartoon material. And again, because of the busy lifestyles, there's also a lot of people that don't realize, that just because it's a cartoon doesn't mean it's suitable for children. So sometimes, children are watching cartoons that really are not appropriate for children to watch, and the parents don't realize because, you know, they didn't notice. They just saw, you know, a cartoon image and assumed, oh, cartoon, safe for kids. It really isn't. There are certifications on games for a reason. But what disturbs me is these certifications are changing because we're all changing. You know, life has become so hard. We're all in survival mode. We're trying to just push out what we're feeling. We're trying to ignore the fear and carry on anyway. And what's happening is now collectively, we're becoming less and less aware of the feelings, the frequencies, the energies, the vibrations that are surrounding us because we're so busy blocking it out. That we're teaching this to our kids. We are training our kids at younger and younger ages. And like those of you that watch my videos, I'm trusting that it's light workers here and you'll have some understanding of where I'm going with this. You know, so you'll have done some inner work. You'll have realized you've gotten to a point in your life where you've realized going within is the way forward. And that stuffing your issues down, stuffing and hiding, stuffing your traumas down and your fears down and hiding from them is not the way. That's what keeps us imprisoned and stuck. So, you know, you're doing the work. And again, it's just so important to be aware new earth is being birthed through you. And again, your children have come through you. Do you know, this is all part of it. And we have a responsibility to provide an environment. So it's like planting seeds. If you put the seeds in healthy, fertile soil, full of nutrients and nourishment, that plant will grow and sprout wonderfully. But if you plant it in, you know, earth with, you know, lots of toxicity, chemicals, you know, um, it's not quite as healthy an environment. So that particular seed might not sprout as strongly. And look, we live in a world of duality, so we do need to learn how to experience and interact. We do need some exposure to the fear frequencies in order to cope when we become adults and, you know, stand on our own independence and deal with the world at large. But again, it's think about it. Children are these little seeds. We need to nurture them and exposing them to those frequencies at those tender years when, you know, they're like sponges. You know, before they get to the point where they're distracted and fragmented and sent to school and given homework and made busy so they can no longer be, they have to become human doings instead of human beings. You know, they need as much time in the higher vibrations, in the good feeling energies, in the energy of love, in the energy of joy and excitement and peace and tranquility, all that good feeling stuff. Because if you know what feeling good feels like, and that's something you've become acclimatized to, that's your normal, that's your baseline. So when that's your baseline, you're acutely aware when any heavier, denser frequencies come into your orbit. And then you can make decisions appropriately as to what's your best course of action for you. And like, it's our responsibility to start teaching these skills to children. And it's making it harder for them to learn these skills if they're being exposed to so much fear constantly. And again, you know, I got lost in the fear. I spent October, November, like on the floor, desperately trying to claw my way out of that energy again. You know, so it's very easy as light workers to get distracted and slip into that denser, darker energy. And again, children are in that. They're more open to it. So when we're sitting in that energy, we're emitting that energy, they're also absorbing that. So if we're getting stressed and frightened and angry about events that are occurring in the world right now, that energy is also permeating our children's auric fields. They're taking in that vibration. And, you know, as this was coming in, I was also given a really strong memory of, I think it might have been Last of the Mohicans. And again, I wasn't allowed to stay up and watch it. You know, I was sent to bed. But, you know, we were in a little cottage with very thin doors. And so, although I was sent to bed, I could still hear the movie. So, okay, it wasn't appropriate for a child to watch, but it was literally, I might as well still have been in the room. I just couldn't see the pictures. But I felt that movie. The music in that movie is very, very strong. And, you know, like to this day, I still remember that vividly. Um, and again, the music to this day will still move me. So again, kids don't always need to have the visual. just, you know, that your senses pick up the other stuff, the audio and the vibration. And again, words have vibration, music has vibration. So again, the energy, so it's not always the subject matter, it's actually the energy of what they watch or what they read has a big impact on them. And I just want to have a look at my notes because I just want to make sure I'm covering what's being said. Yeah, they're becoming more adept to learning how to deal with these kind of energies. Do you know, younger and younger in each generation, and it's changing drastically fast in the most recent generations. So by the time they're adults, they're so familiar with the energy of fear and horror and frustration and anger, you know, that they've learned to stuff it all down so deeply that when it comes to them, they've very little awareness when they're in danger, when they're in bad company. You know, because those heavier energies, they've kind of gotten comfortable with it, you know. It's become their baseline. And then something started coming in about Shanachie and Gleemen. You know, in our ancestors' time, there were travelling people that would go around sharing stories. In Ireland, we call them the Shanachies. And, you know, to have a Shanachie come to your home was, you know, a great honour, and you'd give them the best of your food and drink, and you'd provide the bed for them, and, you know, all your neighbours would come and listen, you know, when he's had his feed, and he'd share his stories. And, you know, a lot of it would be to, you know, inspire and uplift, to balance the energies, because again, life can be hard, and sometimes we need these stories to help. You know, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in a lot of movies too. But again, it requires processing your emotion, not stuffing it down. It requires feeling. And again, these Shanachie or the Gleemen or whatever they're called in other countries, because I believe we all had them, and they played a vital role in helping keep balance and order, because we can get so distracted in our working world and the doing, that we forget to sometimes have a bit of play energy. Or if we're gone too far into the, you know, the playful, frivolous, I'm kind of getting like feeling pan energy right now, you know what I mean? Partying to excess, where you're not actually living in the world. You know, it's to bring you back a little bit more to the reality. Because again, we want to be, you know, along the baseline of higher vibrations, but we can't be up there all the time, because we need to navigate this world of duality, which is both heavy and light frequencies, light and dark, masculine, feminine, you know, feeling good and feeling ick. And, you know, as we grow up, we learn to deal with this. And as parents, aunts, uncles, you know, adults who have connection with, you know, young people, young souls, we have a responsibility to be mindful of how we interact with them. You know, and I don't know about other countries, but in Ireland, there's still an awful lot of that energy of children should be seen and not heard. So they're constantly being invalidated in how they feel. And, you know, again, and people genuinely think, you know, I did this myself. Like, you know, and I can't beat myself with a guilt stick, because I didn't know then what I know now. You know, but this thing of, it's all right, love, don't worry, you don't need to fear that. No, there's nothing, you know, that's just pretend. You know, you're safe here, you're loved. And, you know, we think we're giving them reassurance, but we're not. We're actually invalidating how they actually feel. And I can't change that for my kids. Do you know? All I can do is acknowledge it, and, you know, sit with them now and offer them this new vibration that we never really got to share. You know, I thought I was protecting my children, keeping them safe as they were growing up, but in reality, what was I doing? I was offering comfort, you know, and trying to soothe their fears, but through the vibration, because I was feeling anxious, I was feeling overwhelmed, you know, I didn't really know what to do or how to handle things. So that was the vibration I was sitting in. I wasn't sitting in the vibration of safe to offer them. And again, I didn't realize that, but I do now. Sorry, it's just twitty. Imagination kicks in and can heighten a sense of fearful stuff they're not supposed to see and be with. Exactly. And then, you know, their little minds then start playing with this. So when they haven't, you know, had an interaction where they discuss what they've been feeling and talk about why, you know, like really go into that emotion in order, because again, most of us have learned by now, the only way past it is to go through it. So again, it's vital that when we're dealing with little souls, the young souls coming in, yeah, they're not young souls, there's some very old souls coming in, but you know what I mean? When they're still in the tender seedling stages of life, the environment they are in is crucial. And it's really important that we start recognizing and offering what they need. You know, they don't need to be invalidated. They don't need to be, oh, you don't need to be afraid. That's, you know, you're safe, you're fine. They actually need to be acknowledged. They need to be seen. It's like, oh, you're frightened. What is it that's frightening you? Do you know, acknowledge them and then soothe their fears. But we have to acknowledge it first. It's crucial that we do because they are the future. They are the new earth and the children that come through them. Do you know the lessons that we can impart, what we are learning ourselves? If we can impart that on the little ones now, they will grow up to be stronger adults than we ever were. Do you know, they will have a better chance of navigating this world of duality. And the vibration of the planet will just continue to rise and rise and rise collectively, so that eventually, you know, there'll be a lot more of the high vibrations than there is of the heavier vibrations. Balance will be restored. And, you know, I really feel we are in the process of that right now. But it's crucial that we stay aligned with our purpose and we stop allowing ourselves to get distracted and fragmented and have our energy split in so many ways. And you know, it's challenging. You know, this is not an easy job, but no birth is. Do you know? I've given birth twice. It wasn't a walk in the park. You know, it's tough, but it is worth it. It's challenging, but it is so worth it. And we're in that birthing process at the moment. You know, the whole Gaia energy, the earth energy, you know, it's like that labor energy. It's trying, you know, the high vibrations are trying to come through. The Christ consciousness energy is trying to come through. The energy of unconditional love is trying to be birthed. It's in that process. It's coming. But it's up to each and every one of us to breathe through that process, to go through that labor, to pay attention to the body. There is a time to push and there's a time to breathe. And it's important that we do this. And again, it's back to our awareness. Where are we? What energy, what experiences are we paying for? Because again, remember, when you pay attention, you're actually buying the experience of whatever energetic frequency that you're giving your attention to. So if you're giving your attention to all the stress and drama, you know, that's going on around you and the frightening stuff, you're actually literally magnetizing yourself, you know, to, because that's the energy you're sitting in. And remember, universal laws are at play. So setting intentions and manifestations, there's no point in speaking light, happy words if you're sitting in the heavy, dense energies. You emit what you're feeling. Your feelings are your first language. Energy is our language. And whatever energy you're sitting in, you're emitting. And when you're emitting with that energy, law of attraction cannot help but bring you more experiences of the same energy. So different situation, but it'll feel the same, you know? So that's why it's really important that we tune in as often as possible and restore our own baseline energy, because we didn't grow up with it, most of us. We've only had to, you know, work through it all. Most of us have only recently discovered that in recent years. So, you know, it takes practice to keep bringing ourselves back to that, because we've had a lot more experience with the heavier stuff. Um, Sorry, Bernie, what are you saying? 16 years of age, having a breakdown because of a horror movie. I laughed it off at the time. Yeah, because again, it's, you know, laughter is a good way of dispelling that energy. You know, it's a bit like with the rattle, when things start tensing up earlier on. Like it was when I did that, it helped disperse the energy. And like, think about it. Rattles are very much associated with babies. Now, I don't know about all other countries. I'm not that well travelled, but I know here in Ireland, babies' rattles were common, and as were the kind of like an elastic string that would go across the pram that also had rattles. Now, think about the origins and why we had this custom of doing that around our children. They're not just toys, they are tools. And again, you know, in the past, our ancestors were acutely aware of the importance of the energy our young ones were exposed to, which is why rattles were used around babies. Because again, every time a rattle, like baby moves and kicks, any heavy energies that the adults might be feeling would then be dispersed so the child isn't absorbing it. Because again, as children, we're like little sponges. The energy we're in, the environment we're in, we're absorbing that, and that becomes our baseline for what we believe is normal. So again, it's really important, because some of these are going out of fashion. It's like, it's really important that we actually keep the likes of rattles, especially around cots, cribs, prams, etc., because again, they do have a very important function when it comes to energetics and vibration, because it'll disperse that heavier stuff. It clears the frequencies. It took you years to get over, Bernie. Look at your dad was supportive at the time. Thanks for reminding me of your dad's support. Oh, you're welcome, lovey. You've given birth twice, Twitty. Yeah, so you get it. It's not an easy experience. It's totally worth it. And again, like that, at the moment we are birthing, we are all, midwives to the new world, the birthing of the new world. So again, it was, about bringing your awareness to what does fear feel like. Like, think about it for a moment and tune into it. Now, we're not going to stay there, but tune into it for a moment. Like, remember those scary, like those moments where you really did feel that awful, sickening fear, that paralyzing, crippling sensation, and like, ask yourself, is that an energy you want your little ones exposed to? Like, even if they say, your little 4-year-old is going, oh, but I love the big dinosaurs. Is that an energy you actually want your little one to be exposed to? Do you believe that's going to help their progress into adulthood? Is that going to help them in their growth and their awareness, so that they can, get to adulthood as empowered individuals who are aware of their energetic body, who can sense when, their soul is speaking to them and trying to give them direction? Because look at, I talk about, being full good by the good vibrations, and when we're feeling good, good stuff happens in the world. It's wonderful. Your world becomes wonderful. Your reality becomes wonderful. But like, there is the heavier energies. We are in a world of duality, so bad things can still happen. But the thing is that when you're aligned with yourself, when you know how you feel and you understand different frequencies, and you can recognize them when they start entering your orbit of your energetic field, then you get your inner guidance loud and clear, and you go, not liking the feel of that. There's a better option for me. I'm going elsewhere, or I can look at it differently, or, it helps us navigate the world. But if we become so used to those icky frequencies, we don't even notice when they're around. You don't even know you're in bad company. Because you just become so familiar with that energy that you don't realize how icky and toxic it is to you. So again, is that a frequency you want to be raising your children to be comfortable in? And only you can answer that. And I'm not here to judge what you do, but all I'm here to do is bring your awareness to it. Ponder that for a moment. Do you really want them getting used to that energy? Is that something that you want them intimately familiar with? It's not very pleasant. So, something else that was coming in. Fearless. We really promote fearlessness. We kind of, glorify it and make it out to be a really good thing. Like, oh yeah, look at them, like, and fearlessly going in and tackling that awful situation. But again, there's a big difference between fearless and fearless. And someone that fears less is better able to handle these things, because when they do come up against fear, they've clearer guidance, they have a deeper understanding of how they need to navigate and what they need to do. But someone fearless is generally somebody who has lived with fear for so long that they're just armored up and they charge headlong in fearlessly, oblivious, and they don't always hear their guidance, or and the choices they make and the actions they take are not necessarily coming from their soul's perspective, but from the ego and their survival mechanism perspective, charging bullheaded into something fearlessly. But when you fear less, when you have an understanding of these things and you learn to understand, when you've experienced fear but learn to then disperse it, shake it off, acknowledge it, look it in the eye, and then say, no, thank you. I'm going to tune in and spend my attention and pay for different feeling experiences. And that's what we need to be doing with the children, because the children are the future. And again, it's just, it's still more right. And by the time they're adults, they're so used to coping with the weight and the burdens of anger, frustration, fear, all of that kind of stuff, that they don't recognize what's not for them, unless it's a particularly heavy and intense experience. And that in itself is kind of scary, you know. So we need to start paying more attention to that and try and think about what experience do you want to encourage your children to buy, you know. And bear in mind that their focus is actually a little bit sharper than ours as well, because again, as I said earlier in the video, they're not quite as fragmented and distracted with so many other things. So when they're buying an experience, they're really buying it. Do you know, they're buying it with 100% of their attention. Whereas when we're experiencing, scary movies or whatever situations, we're given a percentage of our focus and attention to it, because there's other pieces of it elsewhere, because we're that fragmented and busy, and we're not fully present. Kids are present. So again, what experiences do you want your children or your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, what experiences do you want the young ones of today to be buying into? So it's really, really important, because it is a very strong and powerful energy, and it can be crippling at times when we don't know how to process it. I've spent most of my life crippled by fear, because again, I was refusing to allow myself to feel. Like I know to avoid the horror movies. I don't like them. I don't want to watch them. I found my voice to say I'm not watching that, because I know it makes me feel awful. I just don't like them. And again, it's okay if you do like them, because again, it's not that they're wrong. They are what they are. There's a certain energy. But if you're able to shake that off, that's wonderful. If you're not able to shake that off, if you don't know how to process your emotions, if you don't know, if you've never been taught, or you haven't learned how to process that emotion, you're then carrying that around with you as well, compounding the traumas that are already in there. Because as I've spoken before on other videos, the brain does not distinguish, the difference between the box in the corner of the room as entertainment and genuine stressful situations. Think of an edge of the seat thriller. You're not sitting back totally relaxed watching this movie. In fact, you're tense. And, the expression edge of the seat was coined because a lot of us do end up sitting up almost on the edges of our seat in order to watch that movie and experience that story. Which again, as long as you know how to shake it off and let it go, that's fine. It's all well and good to watch these things, but it's just have the awareness of what you're watching, have the awareness of how it's impacting your physical being. What way is your body reacting and responding? And a couple of years ago, I was watching the movie Speed with my son, and this is when I really started becoming aware of things like this. And I remember just feeling my shoulders were really starting to ache, and and I was like, and I kept kind of fidgeting and sighing. And my son was like, "What are you doing? Will you stop?" And I go, "Can you not feel that though? Are you not all tense? I just want to shake that off and let it go." Okay, now I know why that's starting to come through me. Now I'm being shown. So again, it's back to, I can only speak about my own experience, but also things that I have witnessed, with many others as well through my lifetime, and especially when we were younger. Children kind of know. They have that built-in intuitive nature, because again, remember, they're still so connected to the divine. They're not here long enough to have had that same separation, that same programming just yet that we've had. And it's sorry, I just need to get a drink. My mouth's getting right. So often as kids, you'd be kind of sitting, like if you were told to sit down, you'd be kicking the legs, you'd be swinging the feet, under the table. Sorry, I'm forgetting you can't actually see me. I'm used to doing this when I'm speaking to somebody. So again, you'd be swinging the legs. But I mean, how many times is it like, stop that, sit still, don't move? And again, their own innate wisdom and our own innate wisdom when we were children knew that whatever energies we were experiencing, we needed movement to help release it so it wasn't trapped in the body and stagnating in our energy centers. And again, I'm not trying to blame anybody here, our parents or our caretakers, etc. They didn't know any better either. You know, this has been something that's been going on for, like I said, decades, generations, centuries. And, you know, there's also children would do an awful lot of, you know, just again, releasing. This is energetic purging. This is energetic releasing. Fidgeting, swinging the legs, this is all energy moving in the body. And they might not be consciously doing it, but their soul's guidance is guiding their bodies. And when they're having these experiences, they're being guided to fidget and move. They're being guided to go, because again, through that sound, through using the throat chakra, you're allowing those energies to come out. Sorry, I'm being given a memory now. Oh my God. Would have been primary school. And again, I'm seeing a lot of little smocks. So we wore smocks in school up until first class, so communion age. And then we transitioned into a uniform. And the memory that's just after popping back in there, you know, sometimes as kids, I play like at break time. You'd be out playing in the yard and, you know, you'd be playing chasing. And at one point we were chasing, but the person doing the chasing would be like, you know, pretending to be one of the monsters from Scooby Doo. And sorry, I'm having my own, I'm having my own teaching healing moment right now with this, what's coming through. But there was one day when I was it, so I had to do the chasing. And I do remember, rather than just going, Rah! I remember like really, like it came from the pit of me. Sorry, just now I'm understanding in the hindsight, that would have been all of the rage, the frustration and fear that I was feeling at that age, because, you know, at the time I was powerless. And when I'd been asking for help, the grown-ups weren't listening, nobody was discussing what was going on. And instead of actually helping me from, you know, some horrifically abusive situations, I got punished and called dramatic Aggie instead. So when they dropped that memory into my consciousness just there, I also had one of those jigsaw moments. Sorry, I need to allow this to come. My video should come with a trigger warning, I think. So again, as children, at the time I wasn't consciously doing that. Right now I've just gained that insight that, oh my God, I was releasing all of that pent up, unacknowledged emotion. In that moment on that day, playing chasing in the yard and pretending to be a scary monster. Kind of going above and beyond the play stuff. What came out was a full on unleash of rage and fury. And I do remember one of the girls from my class, and again, she continued on, went to secondary school together. And it was years later, she even said it, like she remembers that vividly, because that roar, that really scared her. And I didn't really understand at the time when she said that to me, but right now I've just gained understanding. So in that moment, even as a child, and all I was doing was playing, and I was oblivious, but the force of all that pain and trauma that was inside me, unacknowledged and unprocessed, came out in a terrifying roar that if it frightened her, chances are it frightened all the others too. It's just, you know, she's just the one that happened to mention that to me. And I didn't remember the moment. I didn't have that memory when she said it to me. I'm just remembering that now. So, Paula McAvoy, if you ever see this video, now I understand, and I'm very sorry. But again, I didn't know. I was a little girl and I didn't understand. Um, this is just an example of what kids go through all the time when they're, dismissed, when their feelings and emotions and the experiences they're having, when they're not acknowledged by the grown-ups, the caretakers. Do you know that we're the caregivers? We're meant to provide the care, the love energy, as much high vibrational energy as we possibly can for that small amount of time when they're in our care. Because, we're only really with our parents for a small portion of our lives. The rest of the time we have to go out and navigate this world of duality. So if we as caretakers can allow that space for the little ones to, acknowledge them, let them know that you see them. You're feeling scared, huh? That's okay, little one. Tell me about it. Let's see how we can shake free of that. And again, Taylor Swift's song is a Shake It Off. That's coming to mind again. And again, the importance of, it's okay, shake it out. Or let's stomp our feet for a minute. Let's give that icky feeling energy a chance to leave. Let's help it leave our body. Let's help ourselves free ourselves. So again, in that, we would be empowering them that, okay, these are experiences. They're not pleasant, but it helps you know what you do and don't want to do. Do you know? Because again, if something feels icking off, it's your soul's guidance going, there's something better for you. So, it's teaching them. But if they don't know how to release that energy, it stays in, they become more and more, accustomed to it, that it becomes their normal. So yeah, basically that's in a nutshell what I was coming on to talk about. I know I've gone off on all sorts of tangents. I'm going to pull a few cards, just see what comes, to see if there's anything else that Spirit wants to add. But I personally think that's quite a powerful message. And, it's, sorry, I can feel some of that other, because again, when we experience these energies, because they're heavy and burdensome, they're kind of restricting. And, it kind of like, we always have our connection to the divine. But when we're being burdened with the heavier, denser stuff, it kind of, we curl in on ourselves, we tighten up, we stem the flow. So instead of having that wide open, let the divine just totally flow through and guide you all the way, we can often pinch it off. So we're only getting a trickle of our guidance, which is why, there's times where we've ended up in situations and afterwards you're going to know, how did we feel? I probably shouldn't have gone. But we dismiss it all the time because we don't trust ourselves. And we just go and do what we're told because that's what we've all been programmed to do. Don't pay attention to how you feel, just do what you're told, do what everybody else is doing. And it's like, no, it's crucial that we teach the children to pay attention to how they feel, to acknowledge how they feel, and how to process and release, like in healthy ways, how they feel and what they're feeling, because they are the future. And that's how we play our part in the new world. Now, there's many other ways and roles we could play, but this is a very, very important role. And it's crucial that we come to the awareness of that and stop dismissing it off as, oh, kids are different these days. They're well able to watch these things, because do you know what? Just because they're well able to do it doesn't mean they should have to do it. Doesn't mean that's a healthy environment. It doesn't mean it's conducive to them, stepping into adulthood as a fully empowered adult, because all it does is shut them down and stop them recognizing the more subtle shades of the fear frequencies. They'll only be aware of the really hard ones because they live numbed out the rest. And so we'll see what the angels have to add. A quick look at. Sister, I'm going to a haunted house when I was too young. I went to my parents had to take me inside. Completely freaked out. Yeah, and again, it's if your parents didn't understand energy and how it works, all the reassurance in the world, it doesn't help you move that experience, the energy, and it can stay stagnated. Um, been together with your experiences, oh, thank you, Shirley. Hey, kitty cat, how are you? Lovely to see you, Kirsty. Oh, so angels. Okay, there's a little block after jumping out. Okay, sorry, Zadkiel is jumping out there. The others are going back. I was about to put them all back. And again, Zadkiel is an archangel he's of the violet rays, and he's great for transmutation. He's a master of transmutation, and again, that's what I've kind of been talking about within this video. It's learning to transmute these energies. Yes, we're going to experience fear, like it exists in the world. There's no point trying to deny it, but again, we don't have to feed it. And again, but it is important that we acknowledge it, process it, and release ourselves from it so that we're not hooked into it. It doesn't have a hook in us, that it can't control us and paralyze us and manipulate us into things that we don't really want to do. So again, perhaps if you want to go down and do a bit of this work and sorry, not go down, but go within, go deep in and process some of this stuff, Archangel Zadkiel would be an angel to call on to help with that, transmuting that energy. And again, when you release this, it's transmuting the energy automatically with love. Okay, so this is what we have. So Archangel Zadkiel. Archangel Zadkiel will help you find tolerance and forgiveness. Okay, so that'll be tying in because sometimes we are still annoyed with our parents or our caregivers for not giving us the nurturing environment that we actually needed. And again, it's just to let go of that, because again, we're the ones experiencing the rope burn and the pain when we're holding on to that. They should have protected me. Yes, my parents should have protected me, but I understand now. They were so trapped in their own world of pain, fear. They couldn't hear my place for help. They couldn't understand. They weren't capable of receiving it. So, holding on to that and holding on to all that anger and resentment that I had for years towards them for not keeping me safe. That was only hurting me. So, obviously Zadkiel is here to assist in anybody that needs to forgive and let go of any pain, hurt, and resentment that we're holding on to. He works with the violet ray, of purification and transmutation, helping you release lower vibrations and ascend to the higher way of being. And again, that higher perspective, the higher vibration perspective, see it with clarity. What lens are you looking through? Angel wisdom suggests that you visualize yourself in the violet flame and invoke Archangel Zadkiel to help you. Place your troubles and difficult relationships within the flame so that all negativity is transmuted and that all the fear transmuted. Sorry, it's interesting. I have different coloured egg rattles. Sorry, I've just realised the connection with purple and Zadkiel. So this is the reason this one came out. So thanks, Zadkiel. I hadn't realised it was you guiding me on that one. Thank you. So place your troubles and difficult relationships within the flame so that all negativity is transmuted. You are blessed to have drawn this card today, for it indicates that you are ready to walk the path of light. So again, for those that have received this message, there's your acknowledgement. And the affirmation with this card is, I am cleansed within the violet flame. And I think that's beautiful. And thank you, Zadkiel, because I actually felt that cleansing. And I very nearly swallowed that back and wasn't going to, because again, it's a survival mechanism I have. It's autopilot sometimes. I spent most of my life doing that, just dismiss how I feel. When actually it's surrender to it, which is why I went, actually, hang on. Just breathe consciously. So breathing in the divine light, and on the exhalation, just releasing. Don't need to analyze what's coming up. I just need to allow it to come up and to disperse. and trust that my angels and guides are transmuting it as I do so. So the other card that's after coming is discipline. An unruly dog is a hazard to itself and others. The animal which has learned discipline and obedience can be trusted and will loyally and lovingly serve its master. It is then allowed off its lead. Through discipline comes freedom. The master you are called to obey is your higher self, your own soul's guidance. You came to earth on a mission, and only self-discipline will enable you to fulfill it. Tune in and ask your angels for their help and support so that your life becomes happy and rewarding and divinely directed. Discipline is the key to fulfilling your destiny. And the affirmation of this one is self-discipline brings me freedom. And again, often we hear the word discipline and we think of corporal punishment. We think, well, I do anyway. Immediately what comes to mind is my mother wielding the cane, in fury, or the wooden spoon, or the slipper, or, frisbeeing a plate at you, whatever, came to hand at the time. So sometimes the word discipline can actually trigger me a little bit. But I'm aware of that now. And actually, discipline is about, disciplining yourself to listen to that inner voice, to go within, to acknowledge yourself, to give yourself that care that you have to give for everyone else. We've so much love to give, and we give it so freely to others, yet we rarely take the time to truly give it to ourselves. you know. Like, you can spend all the money you want going for massages and that, but if you still flinch when you see a reflection in the mirror and start looking for the problems, and look at you, or your hair needs a cut, when you start judging yourself instead of just accepting yourself and approving of yourself, it's we have to learn that discipline. We have to learn to have the compassion and kindness for ourselves, and that takes a little bit of practice and discipline. And again, not the harsh corporate punishment, don't beat yourself with a wooden spoon when you realize, you've slipped into the negative thought patterns or behavior again. As I've mentioned in other videos, again, just, when you notice it, when you recognize it, instead of condemning yourself and criticizing yourself, go, okay, I see it now. Wow, isn't it great? I've caught myself quickly. That only took a couple of hours, or a couple of days, or a couple of weeks. But remember how far you've come. Take a moment to take a breath and acknowledge that this time last year, that would have knocked you sideways for longer. So isn't it wonderful that you're getting quicker at recognizing when you slip into these old ways and habits? And for me, that's what discipline is all about now. And, just having the courage then to admit to ourselves when, okay, I'm doing that again. It's not the healthiest option for me. It doesn't serve me very well now. It got me to where I'm at. It helped me survive, but I'm going to choose better now because I know better now. And all there is now. And then the third card that came with this is celebration. It is time for you to look for the joy, the delight, and the wonder of every day and rejoice in it. So again, this is reconnecting with the inner child. This is back to the children, the childlike energy, because that's the innocence, the purity. That is the unconditional love. And again, think about it, like, children don't judge on looks. Children don't care what you look like. Children are drawn to people that feel safe, that feel good, it feels nice to be around. It's not about how people look. So again, it's that childlike energy. It's so important that we tune into it, and it's so important that we allow our children to spend as much time in their own wonderful frequencies as we can allow. Because it's hard enough being an adult dealing with the duality. They need lots and lots of time to absorb that wonderful baseline of who they truly are before the world gets their hands on them. So, when we celebrate the passing events and transitions of our life, it is our way of giving thanks, and the angels delight with us. Whenever possible, celebrate with others, for then great energy is raised, which attracts many angels drawn by the laughter and lightness to add their blessings. It will bond you happily with others. Angel wisdom reminds you to celebrate and honor all things large or small in your life. Find something to celebrate now. And then the affirmation is, my life is a celebration. And as I was reading that, I got an image of something that came up in my newsfeed on Facebook earlier, and I think I shared it, of all these wonderful flowers. And it was something along the lines of, the things we say at funerals should be the things we say at the birthday parties. You know, life is to be celebrated. Life is a celebration. That is the natural essence, as long as we don't get distracted and lost in the darker, heavier frequencies. Um, so it's, let's start being more authentic, more open. Let's not wait till somebody has transitioned before we tell them we love them, or before we acknowledge the wonderful things about them, the things we admire and appreciate. So many of us never actually say that to our loved ones, and it's only when they're gone that this all comes up. But it shouldn't be held and kept for funerals. We should start being more loving. Do you know, if you have friends and family that you admire, acknowledge it, say it, celebrate it. This is how we lift each other up, raise each other up. Instead of pointing out each other's flaws, it's time to start celebrating each other's gifts and attributes and things we admire about each other. And, if kids are growing up in that environment, instead of hearing all the negative criticism and the state of that, look at her, she needs to do this, they need to change that. They're growing up in an environment of energy that's, really not conducive to supporting strong, empowered growth and awareness. So again, let's start bringing in the energy of celebration instead of gossip and, criticism. And let's be more aware of the energies that are around us, the energies that we are feeling. And again, let's be a bit more honest with our children about how we're feeling. Because when kids know something's wrong, when we dismiss them and tell them there's nothing wrong, that also leaves them feeling very confused. And then you grow to adulthood really confused because, your gut tells you, something's off, mommy's upset or daddy's upset. And when they ask what's up, they're dismissed and told they're wrong. But maybe let's try answering them honestly and go, well, I am feeling a little upset, love, but it's nothing for you to worry about. I know how to release it, and the way how we do it when you feel something. And here, maybe let's do it together, and maybe catch a rattle or throw a bit of rice in a cup and shake it around, or dance with them for a minute. So again, you're also empowering them to have compassion. You're acknowledging them in their recognition of something's not right. They're tuned in to their awareness. They know. So let's not program them to dismiss their intuition. It's really important that we nurture the little ones. It really is. I can't emphasize it enough. And again, I hope this message is received and understood as it's intended. It's not to judge, it's not to criticize. It's literally just to bring awareness to what energies are we sitting in. What energies are we exposing our little ones to? And what little changes can we make to just ensure they have a more, a healthier, more nurturing environment? How can we ensure there's more better feeling vibrations around them as they grow? And, are we really listening to them? Are we acknowledging how we feel? Because, it doesn't have to take long. Because once you get into the practice of it, it can be dispersed very quickly. How are you feeling? How does that feel? Tell me about it. Okay, now let's shake it off. Let's jump up and down. Let's sing a little song. And maybe let's not be so quick to tell them to sit still and not fidget. Or when they've gone to bed, if they're lying there going, maybe let's not be so quick to say, quish, go to sleep. Maybe just allow them that space, because that is healing. That is the releasing of energy. And their soul's guidance, their own inner beings, knows exactly what they need. So they let that energy out. And on that note, I'm going to say, I'll finish up. An hour and 10. That's a long one. Sorry for keeping it so long. I just have a quick look there at some of your comments. Still in meditation loop for panic attacks, listening carefully. Yeah, me too, Twitty. Like, I mean, October, November, like, I'm even referring it to, like, I took a trip back to hell because it felt hellish. It felt so awful. It was my own personal hell. And, it's not easy to come out of those panic attacks. But again, it's learning to sit with it. I think autopilot, our survival mechanism, has us kind of tensing up, trying to fight it and go, no, this won't break me. I'm better than this. I know better. And I'm going to focus on the positivity. And yes, we do need to focus on the positivity and the higher vibrations. But that doesn't mean we ignore the ick that's starting to bubble, that overwhelming, sense of panic. Because again, and what is the panic? It's usually an emotion coming that we don't want to deal with. And oh God, it's going to happen now, and everybody's going to see me, and before we know it, we're having a full blown anxiety and panic attack. When actually we just really need to just allow ourselves the space to what was coming up there. How was I really feeling? We don't have to track back to the story. We don't have to go through every detail, but we do just need to allow that emotion space to move and shift. And again, what is emotion? Energy in motion is emotion. That's our emotions. And again, we're back to the word. Everything is vibration. Everything is frequency. And there are many different shades to all of these different frequencies, just like with color. I think that's why I'm so fascinated with rainbows. It really helps me understand some of this energetic soup. Because I don't have any other, I don't have the college training to articulate things better. So all I can do is try and break it down in a simplified form of my understanding. And it's through acknowledging and allowing space. It's not what caused you to feel that in the past. It's a case of, what are you feeling? It's okay to feel it. And you have been through hell. Your experience was incredibly upsetting and traumatic. And it's okay that you're feeling what you're feeling. And once you give yourself permission and to have the space to feel that, it starts to disperse. And then if you're guided to, move your body in any way or make a sound, sometimes can really help. And you do that a few repetitions, like an can become a. But again, allow it, because that's your body's way of releasing this energy, of freeing yourself. It's like it's unlocking the door. Like, we each have the key to our own prisons. But it's up to us to actually turn it and open the door to let this stuff out. And again, it's letting it out in a healthy way. Because when we hold it in, then it gets to a point where the pressure builds. And before you know it, then it just erupts. And that's when we have that toxic eruption where we project it on others. But if we take the time to just hold space for ourselves and allow it, just allow it to come without overanalyzing and judging or criticizing, just allow. That's how we start freeing ourselves from the prison that we, because again, a lot of the time it's a self-imposed prison that we're in. Only just feeding the birds again, porridge and 3 white feathers. Oh, lovely. 3 white feathers. And again, for me, 3 is very, very significant. Like, it truly represents the Holy Trinity. And, like, I love the tripettas and the triskells and, and again, even the Irish shamrock, like the whole Catholic thing and St. Patrick and the shamrock with the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. But, for me, it's not actually that. For me, it's, and again, other people would go, no, it's the mother, the maiden, the crone. And again, for me, it's all of them. It's actually the masculine, the feminine, and the divine. Because when the masculine and feminine are in harmony, the divine flows so clearly. That's, so that's my feeling around the energy of the number 3. And it was very significant in me recognizing, I am the Holy Trinity. It lives within me and it lives within you. We all are. 3 is a very, very powerful number. I'm not a mathematician. I even failed a special maths class at school. That's how bad I was. But I'm beginning to have a much deeper appreciation. And again, numbers are language. There's so much more to it that I truly don't understand. So sometimes it comes out, and I trust. When I go look something up, it usually resonates and it gets validated. 21 minutes behind, and two and 1 is 3. Yeah, so again, we're still back in that 3 frequency. Is that something to do with the Tesla codes or something? 369. I'm hearing the 369, the Goose Grant Wine song going in my head now. Okay. So anyway, folks, I think I've held us all here long enough. Again, keep an eye out for the synchronicities. You know, your soul is always guiding you. Spirit is always trying to assist and communicate with you if you're open to receiving those messages. And the better you're feeling, the freer you're feeling, the clearer your guidance will be, the quicker you'll notice the signs and symbols around you, like Tony has just mentioned, like the feathers. You know, sometimes people don't even notice the feathers right under the noses, you know, but we're always being guided every step of the way. And the more we prioritize how we feel, the sharper we are in navigating, you know, the directions to take. You know, there's, like I said, we live in a world of duality. But if you make priority to pay attention, you know, to the good frequencies in order to maintain the balance between the two, you know, then your intuition is sharper and you get clearer guidance, you know, and always trust that feeling. If you get a feeling not to go that way today, don't go that way today. Take another route. You know, if you get a feeling to take the stairs instead of the lift, take the stairs instead of the lift. You know, trust your intuition. And the more you prioritize how you feel and the more you allow yourself and acknowledge the emotions that try to bubble and surface, just breathe through it. Allow it to go. We don't have to analyze it. It doesn't mean we have to go back and relive the traumatic moment. It just means we just need to acknowledge that feeling, that energy that's just waiting to go. And when we let it go, we often feel an awful lot of exhaustion. It's like, oh, I'm wrecked after that. Why? Because it took so much energy to be holding onto it, to be holding it tight, to be keeping it in. So just by simply allowing it and just letting it, you know, you feel lighter, you feel better. And, you know, you sleep better that night after having a release like that. And life starts getting easier and easier. Doesn't mean nothing bad is ever going to happen across your path again. There's not going to be challenges or upsets. But you get better at navigating your way through it. You get better at handling it. You know, you find solutions quicker because you're more focused on solutions. You're solution orientated instead of problem orientated. And as such, your whole world changes. You're demonstrating this then for the younger generations. They start learning this as well, and so on and so forth. We have the snowball effect of people who are actually finally acknowledging how they feel instead of invalidating feelings all the time. I hope that helps. And I'm going to go now. Just got a tattoo of a heart. Oh wow, that'd be lovely. Anyway, thank you for joining me and thank you for listening. I hope this message is understood because I'm aware I'm not the most articulate. I don't know how to condense it and make it properly. But look, I'm me and I do it my way. So, and I trust that those that need to hear this will receive it. So thank you for being here with me and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.